Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time to show you guys my client Mikey's training. One of the clients who I do actually vlog his stuff, and keep in mind guys, there are other of my clients who have YouTube channels out there if you go look at them. Plenty of strong lifters. I got plenty of strong lifters. Things didn't go good for Mikey this week on max pressing. We went for incline because I thought he'd be able to PR this steep incline. Thought he'd be able to PR it. And he got that one really easy, but then we went for a very, very small PR. And he missed it. He missed it, and it's most unfortunate because we've been on a really, really good streak lately with pressing PRs for him. And notice he just couldn't lock it. You know, he got halfway up, it just gave out. And in this case, we really just need more deltoid. He needs more delt. Because we put a ton of muscle on his chest. Mike has big triceps. Right, triceps are not a weakling. They've never been a weakling for him. And I thought that was funny the other day. One of my clients who has a vlog, people said, oh, Blaha's projecting onto him, telling him he needs more tricep and upper back, right? But then I have Mikey, who I literally vlog his workouts for you guys, and you don't see that. He doesn't have a tricep weakness. He's got big arms, right? Not a problem for him. But we're keeping things a little simple for the benching accessory right now. You guys will notice that for him, what are we doing? We're doing flat bench and we're doing incline, right? And then some reverse band JM presses. So you guys have seen a lot of variation lately, but keeping in mind, people then assume, oh, if Jason's lifters all have specialty bars, that's all they use. No, that's not all we use. We'll use variations or pretty much the classic lifts a lot of times. So for him, a lot of his bench accessory at the moment is very, very basic. Okay, it's some tricep work because we always need a little bit, but it's a lot of flat benching, a lot of incline benching, and a lot of lat work because he needs more lats. His lats are an issue for him. So we are doing chin-ups, rows, and snatch grip high pulls this phase. You know, I've had some people ask that too. They're like, does he ever do pull-ups or chin-ups? Because they hadn't seen them previously. I'm like, yeah, of course he does. We do them as needed, right? We rotate through these movements. So, and I did notice just as I was ripping these to voice them over, that, yeah, he's not quite going down at the bottom, and that's okay. I'm not that worried about it for now. A lot of people say, well, you should be more range of motion. Well, yeah, other than he's getting pretty good reps with a decently heavy weight, and we're getting the fatigue that we want. And we'll work on that. I'll talk to him about it. This is the first time we've had chin-ups in the rotation for a little while for him, so he hasn't been doing them. So we may need to talk about, hey, we can work on going a little bit lower. But I'm not that worried about it, honestly, because, again, it's just one of our many back exercises that he has. But he could stand to go a little bit lower. He could stand to go lower on him. But I'm happy with the performance overall. And for something like an exercise like that, you can take a lifter who may be with a given weight on something like a chin-up. They're not going quite all the way down, but they're getting a decent number of reps. What might we do? Well, we would work on getting deeper. We would work on range of motion as a form of progress at that point. All right, perfectly fine. But I did expect him to go a little lower. I wasn't expecting them to be where they were. I thought he would, but I'm not, again, as a coach, I'm not really that upset by it. I'm not going to make a big deal. It really isn't that big of a deal. But would he potentially benefit from going a little lower? Yes. And we'll work on that. And then, of course, max effort good morning with a safety squat bar. This is something you guys see me max on a lot. I've done many maxes with that exact exercise. This is a new bar for him. So we needed to test his good morning. And that's what we did. We tested his good morning with it to see where it's at, because he's been doing that cambered bar for a long time for his good mornings. I want to work in some safety bar because we need some variation. And I tend to like those. Those are my preferred bars. If I have lifters who have a safety bar and a cambered bar, I really don't have them use anything else for good mornings. I mean, I could have them use a straight bar some, but just because there's no real benefit to it unless, say, we really just need to practice getting a straight bar on your back. Maybe if they're peaking for a meet, you know, we might do more of that. So again, people will notice when we get to Antonio, because he doesn't have all these bars. When you guys see his vlog coming up, you'll notice I'm going to have him doing a lot more with the straight bar. But under normal conditions, if in a perfect world, if I have a lifter who has a safety bar and a cambered bar, I'm going to use those for their good mornings. Those are going to be our go-to tools because they work, and they work very, very well. And in this case, we're trying to go with a little easier exercises. Mikey's been getting a little beat up lately. Last week, we more or less did a deload for him, which is one reason the footage didn't go up. My version of a conjugate deload for a lifter, which basically means we just cut most of the supplemental workout, and we just hit good training maxes. So we're doing, again, some safety bar because it's a lighter weight, and then to replace some of his quad work, we're working with belt squats. Now, he obviously needs to keep working on these. We need to get stronger on them. This is his first time doing these in quite a while, so we need to build them back up. But again, we'll get that extra quad work that we need in without beating up his recovery, right? Without beating up his recovery, because again, low back, hips, stuff like that can become an issue, particularly low back. His low back is a weak link, and that's something I've discussed in the past. A lot of people said, man, I can't believe that guy doesn't deadlift 550, 600 pounds. His deadlift is by far his weakest lift. So people will watch him squat, they'll watch him bench, and they're like, oh man, I bet this guy can pull a lot. No, his low back has been historically a weakness, so we have to be mindful of that. So we're pushing reverse hypers really hard, doing a lot of good mornings, but his low back gets really, really fatigued, and we have pulled it before. We've pulled it before with a weight as light as 400 pounds on a deficit deadlift. Okay, so we have to be mindful of that. And so we started noticing a bit of cramping and fatiguing in it lately before his deload. So what I'm trying to do is to relieve stress on it a bit. So it's like if we go to a slightly lighter weight on by using a safety bar instead of a cambered bar, because you cannot good morning as much with that bar, right? We'll still get pretty much limit sets without stressing his low back quite as much. I can pull some of his back squatting out, which we do for rep work, replace it with the belt squats, right? So that we still get the quad work in, but without just destroying his low back, and then we can work on belt squats, reverse hypers, things like that. And of course, then this is his speed benching, and his speed benching went pretty good, but Mike's speed benching always goes good. I've had a few people notice it, like, wow, it's really smooth, and it is, and that's what we want. When we speed bench, it should look like a piston, right? It should just be pop, 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 your 3 reps. It should look like a piston, no pausing up and down fast. And that's what we see for him. That's what we get. Okay. So again, we had a speed bench there. I thought I had some incline program that day. Maybe the footage didn't come through in that set when I was ripping it. But I'll have to look at the sheet later. You guys can see the sheet that I put up at the start. But we did his speed benching. There's his reverse band JM presses, which is what I wanted him doing before, and we had a couple of vlogs where he was doing them against bands, and I really wanted reverse bands. But there you saw a set to failure. So we're trying to get these sets pretty close, right? We want to get them very close to failure, if not to failure, especially on these smaller movements. Then again, we have more chin-ups, and he's got chin-ups, rows, and I think snatch grip high pulls. So that, again, we're really working all angles of his back. And been surprised at how strong he's gotten on snatch grip high pulls. And we get a lot of carryover to bench, but I think that's one thing that will highlight some points that people will address a lot of times with deadlifting. Like, oh yeah, I mean, a strong upper back will make a big deadlift. Are you guys sure about that? You sure about that? I think in this case, that's not limiting Mike at all. Look how strong he is on rows, right? He's real strong on rows at this point. He's very strong on snatch grip high pulls. He's doing stuff like 260 plus for high reps on snatch grip high pulls. His upper back is growing just fine. He's got a strong upper back. Still weak on the deadlift. Okay. I think upper back is oftentimes overrated for a really, really monstrous deadlift. I'm not saying it can't help, but when you have a lifter like him who is big, he is stacked, he's thick, yet still has a weak deadlift because his low back is the weak link. I think low back matters more. I think it matters a lot more. I think glutes and hamstrings, erectors, okay, that's what builds a deadlift. Not saying other things don't contribute, but again, if you guys want to talk about upper back strength, look at this. This is something like 265. and he's cranking out sets of 10 plus reps on the snatch grip high pull. And notice he doesn't use a whole lot of leg drive on it. Okay, that's a strong upper back. Same thing, look at with those rows. Using a lot of weight for sets of 10. His upper back is real strong. He's strong at the good mornings too. He's gotten stronger. But we are limited. We're limited by posterior chain, and that includes the low back. He needs lower back, he needs glutes. That'll bring his deadlift up. It's going to be a high priority for us. But we also have to be careful of not beating his low back up anymore, which is one reason I'm rotating some of the other lifts. Because again, his low back gets so fatigued that we need to change these things up just so that it's not beat up all the time, right? Because if his low back is beat up all the time, we can't pull heavy. We can't pull heavy. So again, this is where it becomes really useful to work with things like the belt squats, the reverse hypers, going to a bar that forces you to use a lighter weight on the good mornings. And of course, his speed lower day went pretty good. He's pausing now on the box like we want to see. Good and explosive, good follow through. Of course, yes, we only use bands for his speed work. He doesn't have chains. We have multiple bars. So we just stick with bands, by the way, year round for Mike's speed work. For anyone who's noticing a trend, whereas in some of my other lifters, you'll see me rotate through things. Straight weight, chains, whatever. But I prefer bands, and he has bands, so we use them. So even on the deadlift, we rotate through things like conventional and sumo. Or we even run phases of where I might do deficit pulls against bands for speed work. But it's all coming together, and I think we're going to see some big deadlifting coming out of Mike. We are bringing up all those weak links. We're seeing them get stronger in real time here on camera. We're really pushing all of his stuff for his lower body, his posterior chain, everything else, and I think we're going to see that deadlift come up. It's just really, his body just seems to turn off when we get too heavy on it because of his low back. He has a history of pulling his low back on them, and it really is a limit for Mikey. It really is a limit, so we have to keep working on that. And we are. And again, I think we're going to see him finally crest a 500 deadlift coming up here soon. I think it's going to happen in the very near future, which is a goal we've set. And I know other people look at his other lifts and go, that seems kind of low. Well, it is kind of low. It's his weakest lift. It's a shorter arm lifter who has a history of low back weakness. But he'll pull 500. He'll pull 550. Eventually. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time, and we have to continue to address those weak links. But he's made enormous progress. Right? He's made enormous progress since I've been working with him, and we've discussed how far he's come already. And he's going to continue to keep going. And this is a guy who's been training now for 12 years. 12 years, completely lifetime natty. I hate that term. We'll call it drug-free. Lifetime drug-free. Never used gear, has no intentions of using gear. Yet he's big and he's strong. He's taking consistent, hard, well-thought-out work. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.